Another video on this 2000 Ford F-250 Superduty equipped with the 6.8 liter V10 motor. Today I'm going to be replacing all 10 spark plugs. First thing, you want to go ahead and pop your hood here. Okay, so once you get your hood open, go ahead and locate all your coils here. So on the passenger side here, this is going to be bank 1. This will start out with cylinder number 1 and then go back to cylinder number 5 all the way back there. Cylinder number 5 is probably going to be the trickiest to get out just because of all the stuff that's in the way back there. Come over here to the driver's side. Of course, you'll have cylinder number 6, and that'll go all the way back to cylinder number 10. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe make a little more room over here. So I'll go ahead and remove the intake snorkel, and then we'll tackle bank 1 after we do bank 2. So first I'm going to start out by removing both of these rubber hoses here off the intake tube. So all you got to do is slide these back and forth. Pop those off, just like that. Grab an 8mm, go ahead and loosen up this worm clamp here at your throttle body, along with this one here, right at your air filter housing. Then you should be able to go ahead and pull this off here. And then slide this one off the throttle body there. So before we go ahead and get started pulling coils and that, I went ahead and just took a rag and stuffed it in the throttle body there. Same with this one here into the air filter housing. Because what I'm going to do is blow out with some compressed air all this dirt and debris, because this truck does sit for long periods of time. So there's probably a ton of dirt and debris down in where the coils and spark plugs are. So let's go ahead and just blow this out real quick. And then I'll also just kind of cover up these two hoses here with my hand as I'm blowing these out. So as you saw, there's quite a bit of dirt and debris that came out of here. So keep your air handy, because once I pull each coil, I'm going to blow them out again. And what I'm going to do is do one cylinder at a time. I just find that easier. That's what I usually do. So let's go ahead and start removing this number 6 coil here. So what you want to do is go ahead and unplug the wiring harness first off the coil here. So what you're going to do is just kind of squeeze that and then pull off. Just like that. You can see here's the little tab at the bottom there. You're going to press in on that and then pull it off. And then you have a 7mm bolt holding the coil on. So grab yourself a 7mm. Let's go ahead and remove the coil bolt here, and this may turn on you, so just hold it there. Let's go ahead and pull this 7mm bolt off of here. Just make sure you don't lose that bolt here. So there's what that looks like. And then what you can do is go ahead and just lift up on your coil, and that'll pull directly off your spark plug there. So then if you take a look, you can see the spark plug down in the cylinder head there, and it kind of goes almost at an angle. So keep that in mind once you go to remove the spark plug. Before I go ahead and pull that spark plug, I'm going to shoot some compressed air in here once again. So then what you want to do is grab a 5/8 spark plug socket. You can see it has that rubber grommet down inside. That's to get on the spark plug so it doesn't fall back down in the cylinder head when you get it loosened. And you can see I do have a swivel on this one. The swivel is not necessary, but it does come in a little handy just because of the angle that some of these spark plugs are at. And then just get yourself an extension or a couple extensions to reach down in there. And let's go ahead and pull that old spark plug out. You want to get down in there, make sure you're locked onto the spark plug. Go ahead and loosen these up. Now the person I'm doing these for, they've had this truck for about 8 years. They don't really know the history of it. This has right at, I believe, 200,000 miles. So who knows when the last time these were changed out. I guess we'll find out here. So once you get it loosened, go ahead and pull your spark plug out of here. So that's what that looks like. And there's our old plug. And as you can see, it looks like, so these aren't the original plugs. As you can see, these have the Bosch Platinums, which I don't recommend in this motor. So let's go ahead and take a look at our new plugs. So let's take a look at our new plugs here. So I went with the genuine Ford Motorcraft, part number SP-479-X. I got this whole 10 pack off of Amazon. It was right around 65 bucks, I believe. I'll put a link in the description for it. But these Ford Motorcraft spark plugs are probably the only ones I would recommend running in these Triton motors, whether it be the 4.6 liter, 5.4, or the 6.8 liter. Because if you know the history on these motors, they had a tendency to blow out the spark plugs. Because what happens over time is these spark plugs will start to vibrate and then they just shoot out of the cylinder head, because Ford, when they came out with these motors, they only put a couple threads really holding these spark plugs in. And since then, Ford has also updated the torque on these. So the original torque was 12 to 14 foot-pounds, to where now it's 20 to 22 foot-pounds is what they recommend torquing these spark plugs at, just to prevent them from blowing out. My 2003 F-150 with a 4.6 liter, I actually had 2 of these blow out before, and then I had to re-tap it and everything else, and it just becomes a big mess. So, like I said, these are the only ones I probably recommend. These are probably going to be the most reliable. I mean, we're not running a high horsepower or anything like that, so these will just be good enough. So, also going to use some tune-up dielectric grease here. I'll use that for the coil boots there. And then if you take a look at our old plug here, like I said, this was a Bosch Platinum, but somebody has been in here and has replaced these. I don't know what the other ones look like. This one doesn't look too bad. I did take my feeler gauge here just to see. So the spec for these spark plugs is 0.054 inches. So I went ahead and just used my feeler gauge here. I got the 0.024 plus the 0.030, and this one slides in and out of there with ease. So it is down a little bit. And then if you take a look at your new plug here, these should be pre-gapped from the factory. So go ahead and check the gap here. Just want to make sure those are squeezed together, and you can see just barely fits in there, but it does. So that's perfectly gapped here, so we don't have to gap that. But I will check all of these just to make sure, because sometimes, you know, somebody could have dropped this and then it'll bend the tip here and then it has to be re-gapped. So just make sure you check all these before you go ahead and start putting them in the cylinder head. And then also, I will not be using any anti-seize either. Ford didn't really say whether they recommend to use anti-seize or not, but a lot of these new plugs, the anti-seize is already built into the threads here, and that's just one more thing that can help loosen these plugs as well, or not get the correct torque value. So I will not be using any anti-seize on these threads. So go ahead and grab your new plug here. Go ahead and stick that in the rubber boot there. And then what you're going to do is go ahead and stick this down into the cylinder head here. And you don't want to just drop it, because like I said, you don't want to bend that tip. So just go ahead and lightly put this down in here. And you always want to get this started by hand, and never want to use an impact or anything like that, because you do not want to cross thread these. So go ahead and start tightening this by hand here till it pretty much stops. So about right there. Let me grab my torque wrench. So I'm going to add another extension here from my torque wrench. And then what I'm going to do is go to 21 foot-pounds. Since it recommends 20 to 22, I figured just go right in the middle. And let's go ahead and torque this down. It's about right there. Just double check here. Okay. So once you get that torqued, go ahead and pull this off of here. Sometimes that socket will get stuck on the new spark plug, so just kind of wiggle it back and forth, and eventually it'll slide off of the spark plug there. Next, go ahead and grab your dielectric grease, and then just inspect your coil boot here. Make sure you don't got any tears or anything in it. This one still looks fine. These could be the original ones, I'm not really sure, but we weren't having any issues with this misfiring or anything, no coil codes or any of that. So Just reuse these coils. I don't see anything wrong with them. Take your dielectric grease here. Just put a little dab inside the boot here on your coil, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and stick this down onto the spark plug there. Put that on there. Grab your coil bolt here, your 7mm. Get that kind of screwed on there. And go ahead and tighten that up. This one you just want to get nice and snug. Since these coils are just plastic, you don't want to over tighten that and then split the plastic. So just get these nice and snug. And these do have quite a bit of threads on them. So get that snug like that. And then you can go ahead and plug in your coil. Get that plugged in. Make sure you hear that click, then you know you're locked on there. So now I'll go ahead and do the rest of these here. I probably won't show you each and every one, but I will try and time lapse this. That way, if I run into any issues, I'll stop the time lapse and let you know what I'm doing, or if I need to use, you know, different extensions to reach all the way in the back here. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this bank done. And you may have to maneuver around here to get your torque wrench on here. I'm hoping on those back ones we can still use a torque wrench, but I think it's going to be pretty tight. About right there. So for cylinder number 8 here, if it makes it a little bit easier, you can unplug the throttle body here. Get these hoses kind of out of the way. But all you're going to do is push in on this tab here, and then this should just pop off of here. Just like that, and then kind of just tilt that out of the way. Gives us a little more room. And as you can see, I forgot to unplug this coil. It makes it a lot easier when it's down, bolted down on there, to unplug these. As you can see, once you get it up here, it's kind of hard. There we go. So there's what that one looks like. Okay, so on to the last one for this side. So cylinder number 10. Like I said, it's pretty easy to get back on this side here. It's the other side I think we're gonna have a challenge with. So let's go ahead and get this last one swapped out here. And almost forgot to unplug it again first. There we go. Try and break that free. And so far, all these on this side look perfectly fine. So that's a good thing. No threads or anything coming out with them. You just got to keep up on the spark plugs on these engines. Pull this coil out here. And if not, keep up on them. Just go ahead and check the torque on all of them as well, just to see if they've loosened up, you know, within the, you know, 20,000 miles or so. Just check them all the time. And if you noticed all the dirt that came out of that one, like I said, this is why I do each spark plug one at a time, because when you take all these coils off, then you're exposing all that dirt to just blow back into the other holes there. So like I said, that's why I prefer to do one at a time. And then for this back one here, this is kind of where the swivel socket comes in handy here, the swivel spark plug socket, which you can get off Amazon pretty cheap. I'll put a link in the description for one of these. Just helps out a little bit better for these back ones here. So get on there. Grab my socket wrench here. Loosen that. So that one was pretty tight at least. This one here was also pretty loose. Cylinder number 9. And like I said, I'm just afraid I might not be able to get my torque wrench back in here. We'll see. If not, just gotta kind of go off of feel for torquing these back ones here. Pull that out of there. So there's cylinder number 10. And then if you just kind of lightly put it in here, it makes it a little bit easier to remove. Just as long as that's holding that on. You don't have to shove it all the way in and kind of get stuck in that rubber grommet in there. Go ahead and lightly stick that one in. Make sure you're fully in and not cross threading. So right there. And then, like I said, I don't know if I can get my torque wrench in here or not. Looks like I should be able to. There you go. And you can see that one got stuck in there. So like I said, if you just, you kind of just hold this, your extension here, and then just put a little force to the side as you're pulling up, it'll normally remove out of there. There we go. Just like that. And then you also want to be careful with these coil bolts as well, because these can cross thread pretty easily as well. Just make sure you're fully in and you're even before you start cranking on this little 7mm bolt here. And then sometimes if you just help push the coil down just to take that spring tension off, then you can turn that 7mm a little easier as well. Get this tight. Hold the coil so it doesn't spin on you. plug it in. And you see I didn't hear that one really click, but it is on there. I'm pulling on it, so should be good. Let me go ahead and zoom out here, and let's go ahead and plug in our throttle body since we are done on this side. Okay, so now we'll move on to the passenger bank here. Start out with cylinder number 1, the easiest one here. And if you notice, there is quite a bit of tape on some of this stuff here. So this vehicle sits for periods of time here. The person I'm doing this for is kind of a spare vehicle. And squirrels actually got in here and chewed up a ton of wiring on this truck here. So I had to go through, rewire a bunch of things. So I did a YouTube short on that if you check that out. So just be careful when you guys let these vehicles sit for a while. Squirrels and mice like to wreak havoc on them. So go ahead and loosen this one. And again, almost forgot to unplug it first here, make it easier. Unplugged. And then might also come in handy if you had a magnet to get some of these coil bolts, just so you don't drop them down into the valley there. Go ahead and remove this coil. And so if you notice on this bank here, the plugs are kind of angled going back towards the firewall. So it's going to be opposite of what the other side was. So you see the socket kind of goes in there at a slight angle, whereas the other side was the other way. So that makes this side even more challenging, especially that back one there, because it's going to be pointing at an angle towards the firewall. Let's just pull this one out. So that one was nice and tight at least. And this side here is going to be a little harder too to get the torque wrench in here. Okay. All right, so there's cylinder number 1 done. Plug that in. There we go. So 4 more to go, and like I said, I'm going to go ahead and time lapse these ones. Probably not the very back one, or maybe cylinder number 3 here. We'll see how it goes, so I can show you guys what extensions I'm using and how I'm getting back into this area here. And that one, you can see a bunch of crap fell out of that one there. Some mud or something. So again, that's why make sure you blow all these out really good so none of that drops down into the cylinder. And I think what that was part of a mud dauber nest. But if you notice here, here's a, let's see if I can grab it here. Yeah, see, here's a piece of that mud dauber nest. Somehow made down in there somewhere. So for cylinder number 3 here, this PCV valve is kind of in the way here, along with the hose. So I think to make this easier, I'm just going to pop this out of the valve cover here. You can take like a screwdriver or trim tool, just kind of get underneath, help pry that upward. Get your PCV valve out of the way here. And I think what I can do is just kind of rotate this. kind of rotate it right there. You can also check your PCV valve. So if you hear that rattle, then you know it's still working good. If you don't hear that rattle, then I would just go ahead and replace that, because it's most likely built up with a bunch of oil and everything in there. So just kind of tilt that out of the way. And that gives us a lot better access to cylinder number 3's coil. Go ahead and unplug it here first. And then what I think I'll do, let's grab a rag or something here, just to kind of place over that PCV valve where that went, just so no dirt or anything drops down in there, especially when we go to blow this cylinder out here. Get that loose. And then also another thing too is these are known, these PCV hoses here, for dry rotting and cracking very easily just because of all the heat. You can see it does have this protective rubber thing on it, but over time that deteriorates, and then also the hose as well. So for cylinder number 3, my air compressor was running from blowing that out, so that's why I didn't stop the video. But that spark plug there, I probably could have untwisted by hand without even using a socket wrench. That's how loose that one was. So that one was probably on the verge of blowing out anytime soon. So like I said, it's a really good thing that I'm going through this truck replacing these spark plugs here. And then, not sure if you guys saw as well, I did have to remove one of these extensions to get down in here a little better on that one. And that one I felt when I was tightening it, it pushed down on the socket a little more, so this is probably gonna be a pain to get out of here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so moving on to cylinder number 4 here. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get you the best angle here without blocking the camera, but still pretty easy, somewhat easy to get to, I guess. But you do have these lines kind of in the way here, so try to get this one unplugged here. And just getting that one unplugged can be kind of a challenge. There we go. And just may have to use some shorter extensions to get coil bolts off. And again, that coil's turning on me. It's really hard to get in here and break that coil bolt free without it turning on you. There we go. So let's see if, like I said, go at an angle here. I want to see if this one's as loose as the last one was. Get locked on there. And yeah, I can't turn that one by hand, so that's good. Like I said, that last one was, I didn't even need a socket wrench for. So let me go ahead and try and break this one free here. But you can see, it took like no effort to break that free though. So that one was still pretty loose as well. Okay, so there's that one. Try and bring this up. Go ahead and drop the new one in here. So as you can see how handy this swivel spark plug socket is coming in handy here. Okay, now the challenge is getting the torque wrench in here. Okay, so you can see it is still doable getting a torque wrench in there. Now if I can pull this off of here. So you can see it just gets stuck on that new plug, that rubber grommet, and it can be kind of a challenge to get out of here. Especially at the angle the spark plug socket is. There we go. Okay, get this coil back on. And then I think I might do something different for the cylinder number 5, just because that socket keeps getting stuck on there. I'll show you another way that you can get your spark plug down in there and get it tight, and then we can use a regular socket so it won't get stuck on there. And it's hard to see these ones as well, just getting that coil bolt started. So it looks like I need to turn this some. There we go. And then believe it or not, I've seen some of these where people have done all these cylinders except for these 2 back ones on these Triton motors, and they'll just leave the old plug in there because they don't want to mess with these back ones here. And it's not a good idea to do. I've seen misfires from the old plugs being still in there, but then the rest were new ones. All right, one more to go. So like I said, bear with me guys as I try to get you the best angle here. I don't know how well it's gonna work, but go ahead and unplug that last one here. Just get past all these hoses. And the hard part's getting that tab underneath undone here. There we go. That slid off. And let's loosen up our coil bolt here. So I'm still kind of using the same extensions. Problem is the coil wants to turn on you. So if that wants to turn on you, you can just grab a long screwdriver here, just maybe hold that as you try to break this coil bolt free. There we go. That'll just help you break it free. So then you can get on there with just your fingers here. And again, try not to lose this one because it'll be hard to search for, especially back here. Okay, so there's that. Go ahead and get your coil off of here. Okay, coil's off. Go ahead and try to get that old spark plug out of there. And as you're doing this, you just want to be careful of like your fuel injector wiring harness there. Don't want to break that off or anything. So get locked onto that plug. Try to get my wrench on here. There we go. Break that free. So that one was really tight, so that's good. Okay, so I think we're out, and I may have to pull out towards the back first. And get your old plug out. So I think what I'm going to do for this last one, instead of using the spark plug socket here with the rubber grommet and then risking that getting stuck on the plug in the very back since it's so hard to get back in there, what I'm going to use is just a piece of tubing here, just a rubber hose or whatever you got. And if that'll fit onto the end of your spark plug here, you can see that'll hold it on. And then what we can do is drop that down in the cylinder, go ahead and start tightening it with this. Once we get it pretty much tightened, we can just pop this off of there, and that makes it a lot easier. And then what I'll use, I'll either pull out this rubber grommet, or I'll just go ahead and use a regular 5/8 socket to get on there, and then we'll get it torqued. So again, not sure how much of this you guys will be able to pick up on the camera, but I'm trying. Okay, so I got my spark plug here. So we'll go ahead and get down into the cylinder head here. Just making that turn and then going at that angle that you need to get to is the most challenging part here. But again, don't drop it down in there either because you don't want to bend that tip. So then with your hose, you can go ahead and start tightening this. Again, make sure you're in the cylinder head here and you're not going to cross thread it. Once you get a couple threads in there, and you know you're in there, you can go ahead and pop off your hose here. And I think just because of the angle that's at, I'll still use the swivel spark plug socket here, but as you can see, you can just slide out the rubber piece on here and then stick it back in when you're done. I just think that's going to be way easier getting back in here instead of with a regular socket. So go ahead and get down on there. And then just verify that you're not cross-threaded or anything with this on there. And then I'm going to use my wrench just to get a little bit snugger here. And then I'll see if I can maybe get the torque wrench on here or not. Just a challenge even getting your socket wrench on here. Okay, so we're pretty snug there. So let me see if I can even get my wrench back in here, the torque wrench or not. If not, I'll go off a feel. Problem is I can't get much leverage back in here. Yeah, my camera's dropping on me. So we're locked on there. So now let's see if I can get a good torque on this or not. So that's at about 19. Okay, so right there. There we go. And then that way you can just pull this straight off without it getting caught on the actual spark plug there. And then of course go ahead and get your coil boot back in. And then of course grab your coil bolt here. Careful not to drop it. Trying to get that lined up where it needs to be. Get that started. And go ahead and get that snug. If you can, get both hands in there to hold that coil again to keep it from spinning so you can get that snug. And then go ahead and plug your coil in. And making sure you hear that click. And that's all there is to it. Then you go ahead and get your PCV valve hose back into place here. Again, just make sure that's rattling. Then you know your PCV valve's still good. Go ahead and pop that down in there. Just like that. Go ahead and replace your intake tube here. Get your rags out of here. And you can see that throttle body's pretty dirty, so I'll probably, another time here, I'll go ahead and clean that up. I'll go ahead and get this into place. along with on the throttle body here. Grab your 8mm, go ahead and tighten up your worm clamps here. And then go ahead and replace your 2 hoses here. Swing those back around. Get those on all the way. Same with this top one. Just like that. So now let's just go ahead and start it, make sure everything's good. Idle smooth, no check engine lights or anything. So you can see right there, no check engine light. Of course it is a cold start, but it's idling smoothly. You can see there's no miss or anything, no hesitation. So I think we're good. So I just want to show you all 10 of the old plugs here. You can see they all look to have normal wear on them. None of them are oil soaked or anything like that. So should be good for another 50,000 or so miles. And so that's going to wrap up the video. Again, this was a 2004 F250 Super Duty equipped with the 6.8 liter Triton V10 motor. Went ahead and replaced all 10 spark plugs. And really, it's not that bad of a job to do, guys. Even with me recording this, it took about an hour is all. Yeah, it is pretty tight getting into cylinder 4 and 5 there, but just take your time, use the right extensions, and it's really not that bad. A lot of people see these Triton motors, and then when they go to replace the spark plugs, they run away. But as you guys saw in the video, it's really not that bad. So that's why I made this video, to help you guys out if you need to replace all 10 of your spark plugs. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos. I'll have a bunch on this truck and some more to come, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.